In this video, you're gonna learn 7 lessons about power and persuasion from the king of MMA himself, the man worth $500 million, Dana White. What's going on? Welcome back to the Why You Don't Have Friends YouTube channel. Alexander Leslie Walton here. And this one's off the top today. I promise you I do some off the top of the head. A minority of my videos will still be recorded off the top of the head to maintain an authentic connection with you. Haven't done any planning for this aside from, well, this page full of notes here. Today we're going to be talking about Dana White, and this is not a full analysis. This is essentially just notes from the last press conference. If you don't know who Dana White is, here are some quick stats. Every time after a UFC, Dana White will sit down in front of the press corps and he will give his statements and he will respond to questions. Now, I always love to watch people who are succeeding on a high level. I have loved it for over a decade. I've been obsessed, and to the point that it makes me a weirdo for sure. And so every time I'm watching something where there's someone who's highly successful in a certain field up against some pressure, some social pressure, I watch closely. So without any further ado, let's jump into this video. I'm just gonna cut in clips from the press conference, just the things that I noticed. Enjoy. All right, so one thing you're gonna notice about Dana White is he stands behind his fighters. Now, before I get any hate from the UFC fans out there, he doesn't stand behind everyone. He stands behind the fighters that he likes, behind the fighters who are playing by his rules, or the ones that help the UFC.
Any odds makers that makes Anderson Silva 7-1 is out of their mind. I mean, the guy is always taking care of himself. He's a great martial artist.
The effect this has when he stands behind these people, he backs them up. He makes them look good. He shines them in this positive light.
I don't know how people can't give Anderson Silva the credit that this guy deserves. 7-1 underdog.
And because Dana White's sort of like the godfather of the UFC, this guy is sort of like a king. To get a blessing from the Godfather, it's going to help you sell more tickets if you're a fighter, which is going to make you more money. And it's just good to be in good graces with the boss, obviously.
He's a crafty veteran. He's very talented. He's got knockout power. And if it went to the ground, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and has submitted a lot of guys who are great jiu-jitsu black belts. So people are nuts counting him out.
Now, the thing about him is, though, is if you get on his bad side, if you talk some trash, if maybe you're a little bit disrespectful, maybe you're not getting what you want, not getting paid enough, but you didn't handle it the right way, maybe like the previous video, you blamed him and didn't take responsibility. The inability to take responsibility and tendency to blame others is essentially bad leftovers from childhood programming that has remained uncorrected into adulthood. And in that case, perhaps you went on Instagram like a lot of these fighters in the UFC do and talk some smack about the UFC or about Dana White. Now, if you do that, you're not going to be in his on his great UFC fighter list. He's going to have people who are playing by the rules. Those are the people who he's going to shine his powerful light on. Next point. Dana White says as little as possible while he is communicating the point. I'm just going to speak as if you guys don't follow UFC. There was a fighter called Kevin Gastelum, and he was supposed to be fighting that night against the champion, but the champion wasn't able to make it because of some health issue. What happened was he borrowed someone else's championship belt and was walking around the event sort of pretending I'm now the champ because the other guy didn't show up.
What do you feel should happen next?
Well, I'm the champ, for sure.
Now, he's walking around with a fake belt or a real belt that's not his, pretending to be the champion now that the other real champ didn't show up.
I'm the winner. I'm the champ. And that's how it should be.
Dana White responds with, "That's cute," and a smile, a cheeky little smile.
Calvin was in the back with a belt on his shoulder. I'm just wondering your reaction to seeing Calvin walking around with a belt today at the event and sort of ringside.
That was Cejudo's belt that he borrowed, Yeah, it was cute.
And just finally, I mean,
he doesn't say more than necessary. He doesn't need to. The question was this big thing. You know, we got this guy walking around with a belt. Is this the new champion? Blah, blah, blah. And he just addresses all of these rumors and shuts them down in an instant with, "That's cute."
It was cute.
It's also a dig at Kevin Gastelum. It's also it's a little dig. It's a little shade thrown, if you will. Watch how he pauses after he says, "That's cute." He just pauses with this smile, completely at ease, as if that's the end of the story.
It was cute.
And he just completely squashed this whole rumor that the person in question, Kevin Gastelum, had started himself. Dana White doesn't like that, and so he just shuts that down with "that's cute." Something I realized after seeing those first 2 points we just made. Number one being that he stands behind his fighters, but not all the ones he likes and that help the UFC. And number two being he says as little as possible while communicating the point that he wants to make. And number three is he rewards positive behavior and punishes bad behavior. So we've just sort of illustrated those points. If you're doing the right things for him, he'll help you out. He'll promote you. He makes you look good. And if you cause him stress or problems, he kind of will make you look like an idiot. This is powerful. So check out this clip where he says,
Listen, I'll come to Australia every weekend, man. I love this place. The people are incredible. You know, the fans are amazing, except for the guy that wrote "fuck UFC" over on that street the other day. Except for that guy, this place is great.
he is not afraid to speak his mind. He's not afraid to offend. He will often say, fuck this guy, fuck that guy. He doesn't mind. He has hundreds of millions of dollars and he doesn't need anything from anyone. Most people are careful with what they reveal about themselves in order to avoid conflict, but Dana White doesn't have that issue, so we tend to believe him more. So when he says things like, I love Australia, I love the people, except for that one guy who wrote fuck UFC. Everyone in Australia who's a fan is like, yeah, he loves us, he loves Australia, Dana White loves us. And then that one guy is feeling probably like a dick. And his friends who knew that he did it probably are talking shit to him now as well. Dana White's sort of in this kingship position. I love Australia, love the people, but not this one who's misbehaving. So he's punishing bad behavior, and he consistently does that using reward and punishment as a way to modify the behavior in the people around you. It works. Someone does something you like, you reward them. You say thank you, you give them a smile, you give them a hug, you acknowledge what they did, you do something. You reward them with something. If they don't do something you don't like, you punish them. You ignore them, you spend more time away from them, and we'll get to why that's important. All right, so the next point is when he doesn't have the answer to a question, or if he doesn't want to answer a specific question, what he'll do sometimes is he wants to stop that line of questioning right there. For example, one thing that people ask him all the time, they'll ask him, who is X fighter going to fight next? The person who just fought. And Dana White consistently always says, you guys know I don't make fights the night of a fight. Let's wait the weekend, see what happens on Monday, and go from there. He always says the same things, but yet the reporters always ask, who is this fighter or that fighter going to fight next? Do you have any ideas? He's done this many, many times, and he's got practice, and he has ways of shutting things down that stop that line of questioning from coming back potentially. In this press conference, in this example, he doesn't give an answer, but what he does is he responds with certainty, with an answer that's related, it's relevant. It doesn't answer the question though, but it is relevant, and he says it with certainty. So he's like this.
Who in the top 10 would you like to see him up against? Who makes sense for him at this point?
I don't know. Tuesday we'll have a matchmaking meeting, and I'll have to look at it and figure it out.
Who is going to fight? I'm not sure, but we're going to have a matchmaking meeting on Tuesday, so we'll know more then. He says it with certainty. So because it's said with certainty, because it is related in that way, he can get away with that, and the question won't come back. The next point is, because he's done this so many times, and I found this really interesting, that he has so much practice at this, that he knows often all of the counter arguments and counter positions or points to whatever his take is on things. He expresses himself so often on these topics that he's heard every kind of take, every type of response to the things that he most often has to talk about. So when someone comes with something that he's prepared for in the sense that he's heard it before and he knows already the counter argument to their counter argument, he will lay into them. And not in an aggressive way necessarily, not in a way that's losing his composure. He is not afraid to call them out or make it awkward, certainly, to further the conversation, especially when provoked.
Say that again.
When you're expressing yourself often about the things that you most deeply believe, sometimes those things can be controversial. I know certainly in my case, those things can be controversial and often have been. So when I will talk about the deepest beliefs I have, people can sometimes respond negatively. Certain beliefs I have can start arguments. And so if I'm someone who expresses myself often, I'm going to hear those arguments all the time. My values, my beliefs are more bulletproof. They're more prepared for attack because I have seen more of what the attacks are out there. And we can improve that knowledge by expressing yourself more often, by expressing the things that you believe that are controversial, that you would typically hold back for fear of either offending someone or causing a conflict. Last thing that I noticed is that he will actively make someone defend their position. He'll challenge all the dissenting opinions because he knows all of his points so well. He challenges those who oppose him even beyond the point of their submission in order to leave no doubt in the minds of his subjects.
Hey Dana, there's a lot of uncertainty in a number of the divisions, and in this middleweight division is now fits that characterization as well. Do you think at any point the UFC would consider outlining specific criteria for determining who the next number one contender is, specifically because you guys call yourself a league?
I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah, you did in this fight, but it tends to be rare, and it seems to be a lot of uncertainty. We go into these fights.
How does it tend to be rare?
Well, like lightweight's a good example.
Okay.
Where Ferguson won the interim title and then was stripped, and now we're not sure.
He got hurt.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing that he won the title.
Then what are you saying?
I'm saying that a lot of fighters feel like they fight for a number one contender fight, win, and then something else happens a month later.
But it's all based on who's healthy, who's ready to go, and who's not. Because the machine has to keep rolling. We have X amount of fights every year, and if you can't defend... Listen, when you win an interim title, it means you're next. If you can't go next, it means you're out, and somebody else goes next. I think that's the criteria. That's what we always do.
All right, thank you.
So you can see the reporter here says thank you. And Dana White could let it go here. He could say, all right, thanks for your question, on to the next. But instead, he says...
Disagree?
It reminds me of that chapter from 48 Laws of Power, destroy your enemy completely. He's constantly providing more evidence, and he has that evidence at the ready and steadily said to contradict whatever his opponent is saying.
Disagree?
I think a lot of fighters disagree. I mean, we hear a lot of
fighters
talk
disagree
about
with
that.
everything I say.
In this example, his opponent has already given up. He asks a question. It's a provocative question. Dana White doesn't like it. He challenges their opinion, makes them defend their position, and they can't do it.
I'm not asking if the fighters do. Do you disagree?
I would disagree with that, yeah.
And why? How would you disagree with that?
And then he asks more.
The interim title, he was next. He couldn't fight. He turned down the fight with Tyron Woodley. So Colby Covington won. So what am I supposed to wait for Colby Covington to show up and fight? That's not how it works.
He asks more. He stacks on more.
Tony's next. He's got the fight. He's got the belt. Trips blows his knee out and has to have reconstructive knee surgery. We're gonna wait for him? No, we're gonna move on.
And the person can't defend. The person submits. They give up.
All right, thank you.
Disagree?
And he keeps going. He keeps going. How about this? How about this?
But Tony Ferguson fought on the same card as the unification fight between Conor McGregor and Habib. So he was ready to fight for the undisputed title.
Right, but he missed his opportunity. We already made the fight. He was out. Now he'll be next. You're wrong, sir.
Sorry, Dana, just...
Beyond submission. He destroys his enemy completely in order to leave no doubt in the minds of his subjects that he is the boss. Not only the boss, but correct. And you better not challenge his opinion because he knows most. He knows most. He knows best. And if you do challenge him, you better be prepared with some good arguments because he's seen it all. Those are my notes from this UFC's press conference on Dana White. Notes from the King on power and persuasion. Let's jump over to my editing station where I can now quickly summarize the lessons for you and close out the video. Alrighty, it's the morning after I recorded, so forgive me, but this is my new editing studio. It's organic and vegan, grass-fed, as you can see. Let's get into the 7 lessons from this video. Number 1, stand behind and outwardly support the people who play by your rules and respect your boundaries. It will endear you to them and make you more powerful by association. Number 2, say as little as possible while you communicate your message, especially when addressing a topic or subject that you want to avoid. The socially inferior person will always try to fill the silence. Create more silence by saying less. Number 3, be willing to offend with your honest opinion if you want your honest praise to mean anything. Number 4, reward good behavior and punish bad behavior. This will influence the behavior in the people around you and set a standard for what you will and won't accept. Encourage what you want, discourage what you don't want. Be crafty. If you do it wrong, it won't work. Number 5, when you don't have the answer to a question or when you don't want to answer a question, choose a non-response that is nonetheless relevant and related and say it with certainty. Number 6, express yourself often especially in regards to your passions and values. By doing this, you prepare yourself for future attacks by learning how people are most likely to respond to your deepest truths. It will make you quick-witted and tough and give others the impression that you are unstoppable on your path. Number 7, challenge the position of any opponent who publicly dissents your opinion. Destroy their case with evidence. Have no mercy. Break their spirit, or they will come back stronger next time. All right, that's it for the 7 lessons. I hope you guys enjoyed this top of the head ramble and rant. If you took anything of value from this video, please leave it in the comments below. If you have a preference or any feedback on this style of video in comparison to the last one, which was completely scripted, let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed what I've done here today, definitely hit the like, definitely hit the subscribe, and don't forget that little bell next to the subscribe button, because apparently that's quite important these days as well. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Excellent.